We're at Kendal Mountain Festival with none other than Stefano Ghisolfi. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks.
And we're going to talk to you a bit about your past, present and future. And I guess talk a bit about the past, because how did you first get into climbing?
Okay, I actually started competing, but not in climbing, but in mountain biking. When I was 6 years old, my father is a mountain bike teacher, and so he got me into biking, and I competed for 5 years in biking. And then just after one competition, some friend of mine took me to a climbing wall on a dam, so an artificial wall outside. And for the first time I tried climbing, and I just fell in love with the sport, and I'm like trying to keep climbing as much as I could.
What age were you around that time?
I was 11.
So by standards of, I guess, like, you know, a lot of modern top-end climbers are starting so young. 11 is almost late for some of them.
Yeah. I was young, but like right now it's even like considered old to start climbing.
We caught up with Toby Roberts just before, and at the age of 10, he climbed Rain Dogs, which is famous 8A in Britain. It's just crazy how young people start. But how was your progress after you did start climbing? Was it quite quick?
I started climbing in a gym, and I kept climbing in a gym for a few years actually, and I haven't touched rock since like I was 15 or something. So it was like the progress was fast, but I couldn't even notice it because like it was fast in the gym. But then I went for one of the first time on rock when I was 15 or 16, and I was already climbing hard in the gym, and I didn't know what my level was. And so was not the first time, but one of the first times I climbed my first 7A, 7B and 7C in the same day. So like the progress was quite fast.
And what then led you into competing? Because you competed as a junior, you're a very successful competitor as a junior.
Yeah, I actually started like 1 month after I started climbing in the gym. I did my first competition, and then I kept competing because I already was used to compete when I was like a biker. So I just kept competing, but in a different sport. And so my parents would just take me to the climbing competition instead of the biking competitions. And then I just started competing like first in the Italian competition, then in the European Cup, Youth Cup. And then in 2009 I did my first World Cup, which was kind of a disaster. I ended up 58 in the first World Cup, and then from there the progress was just.
We often talk comp climbing strikes me like it's highs and lows. How do you after finishing 58th, how was it getting back that next season? You obviously raised the bar, you came back, you got better, but was there the temptation just to say, do you know what? I prefer mountain biking. I'm going to go back to that.
No, because in mountain biking I was even worse.
Okay.
And no, actually it was like a slow progress. Instead of like many like strong climbers already began with a huge performance at the beginning, like podiums or finals at the World Cup. I started from like very low in the ranking. I started 58. Like in the next one I was like 40 something, and then like in the first year I couldn't even get to the semi-final. And my first semi-final in the World Cup was on my second year that I was competing in the World Cup. And then on the third year I think I was already in the final. And then on the fourth year I was in the podium. So like the progress was fast, but like constant in the years.
What do you think changed that throughout that time then? What brought that progress?
I think it was most about experience, because I was in the first year I wasn't strong enough to be in the final or on the podium, but like from every competition I learned something that I could apply to the next one. And so I was like progressing, learning, and then try to like training for sure, and try to improve as much as I can and like fill some gaps that I had in the previous World Cups.
How much for you as well do you think it was about, obviously you train to become as fit, strong as you possibly can, but then how much as well as that head game, that attitude?
I think it's like most of climbing is about head and about mind. And I think like at that time I was like, for sure, right now I feel stronger, physically stronger, but I was like the main jump was with the head and with the experience not only about like technique or something, but also about the attitude and the approach that I had in like competing, and also in like in the pressure, dealing with the pressure and everything that involves competing.
And I mean, all the meanwhile, whilst you're competing as a junior, you were climbing outdoors. I mean, you're climbing to a really high standard outside as well at that point.
I actually started like a few years later, as I told you, but the progress was fast at the beginning, and then like it was constant until I reached like my max level was 9B plus. So from 2011, when I don't remember when I climbed my first 9A, but then I try also to improve, and then I climbed my first 9A plus, then my first 9B, and then my first 9B plus, and was kind of like a slow process but constant during the years.
And this led up to, I guess, 2021 when you won the World Cup Series.
Oh yes, that was my peak performance in a competition, and I actually came close twice to winning the World Cup. It was 2017 and 18 where I was second, and like in 2017 I was second just behind Romain Desgrange, and I was quite far from winning the World Cup. He was quite strong that year, and in 2018 I was much closer to win it, and then Jakob Schubert won at the end on actually he won on a competition when the final was cancelled because of the rain, and I was kind of disappointed that I couldn't even like try to get the title. And then like my revenge came in 2021.
And did you make a conscious decision to step away from competitions after that?
I didn't like totally step away, but for sure it was a decision to have to do less competition and focus more on rock projects. Also because I know my goal was to win the World Cup and to qualify for the Olympics. So like from 2021 I won the World Cup. Like the next Olympic will be in few years, and so I decided to take a moment for like my rock project that will be even more motivating for me.
So when you climbed Perfecto Mundo, you climbed your first 9B plus. How did that feel at the time?
Yeah, it felt for me like a huge step ahead, because like until that moment I just climbed I think a bunch of 9Bs, not a lot, and Perfecto Mundo felt really way harder than the other 9Bs. And like it was like not a huge achievement just because it was 9B plus, but just only because it was like something that was much harder than the previous route that I climbed. So, and when I was trying it at first, it was not even 9B plus, it was just a project, because Alex didn't show up when I was, and then he did the first ascent. He gave the grade 9B plus, and then but I already knew that was something harder than everything that I tried before.
And you've subsequently gone on to repeat other 9B pluses, Change, Alex Magos' own 9B plus, Bibliography. Now, each of those, I guess, is repeating established routes. Could you just tell us a bit about the difference in between repeating established routes and then going on to put up first ascents in terms of the challenge, the difficulty?
Yeah, they're both hard challenges. I think repeating something is a bit easier because first, you know that route is possible because someone already climbed it. Then you have kind of an idea of the beta and the moves, which is like something easier. But at the same time, when I repeated some routes, I always found some other betas that fits more my style and my body type. And so I did for a Change that I had to find some other betas, because like from Adam's video, like I already knew from the beginning that I need to find something else that worked better for me. And same thing for bibliography, and that's why then I find some easier betas, and then that's why then I decided to give a 9B plus instead of 9C.
And I mean, moving on to first ascents, I mean, I guess Excalibur this year being like a really good example of you making a first ascent, but inviting the climbing community in with you. I mean, at UKC, we've all really enjoyed watching the footage of you trying it with Adam, with Jakob, with Will. But my first question would be, I guess it's a bold move because it must be fun working it with them, but then there's the risk that you've just invited three of the best the most competitive climbers out there onto your project.
I know, sometimes I feel kind of dumb, like just, I invited Adam Ondra and Will Bosey trying my project, why? But then at the end, I think without them, maybe I wouldn't even climb Excalibur from like...
Because do you think it accelerated the progress, seeing what worked for them, what didn't, and so on?
Yeah, I think like it made all the process possible, because with Adam, I even from the first day I tried to figure out all the moves, but then when Adam came, we like understood that the route was possible, because I had some problem at the very beginning of the route, while on the very top I was already figuring out like the hill move that is maybe the hardest, but it was something that it was already coming good for me. And so with Adam we figured out the betas for the beginning, and then with Will actually it, like for me unlocked the very first hold. I was grabbing it like I was trying to squeeze a 3-finger in a 2-finger pocket, and like thinking about it now is stupid. But then it was grabbing like 2-finger pocket, and then with the index finger putting on some other spike, and it was naturally for him. It came naturally to try this, and then when I tried it, I immediately did all the moves, and I started doing some attempts from that very moment. So for me, it was like crucial to try the route with someone else, because otherwise maybe I would even just be there again.
From the outside looking in, it just looked like you're all having so much fun. And I guess moving on to that theme of fun, I guess there's a couple of other route problems that have also featured throughout 2023 for you. And I guess let's start with Burden of Dreams, because, you know, after doing Excalibur, you're obviously on form, but you yourself, I think, describe yourself as a sport climber, not necessarily a boulderer. But it seemed to me that I think Will Bosey, this is, having so much fun on Burden of Dreams that you almost couldn't resist.
Yeah, this also, Will is one of the reasons why I started trying Burden of Dreams, because we were actually in the UK. We were there actually for filming some stuff with the white boys in cellar. So I was not even focused on rock climbing, and like the weather was quite bad. And one day I just wrote to Will, that was in Sheffield, and to ask him to try the replica of Burden of Dreams, which he was training on in those days. And so I went there in a Lattice training center. I tried the replica, and I figured out, and I found that maybe there was something that it was possible for me to, even if I consider myself a sport climber.
For a guy who calls himself a sport climber, your efforts on Burden were like some of the most impressive I've seen.
Yeah, but it was like surprise too. That's why then we decided in that moment, okay, maybe we should go to Finland and try the real thing.
And how was it?
Yeah, it was fun. And it felt possible. I was actually, I don't know if I was close to send it, but I could do like the first move, which is the hardest, and then from the first move on to the top. And so it felt kind of close, even if like putting it all together is still kind of hard.
I guess talking of putting it all together is still quite hard. Elsewhere in Scandinavia, in Flathanger, you've got Silence, multi-year project. Do you want to tell us a bit about that? Because that's been a kind of feature, I guess, of your sort of summer months over the last few years.
Yeah, I tried it for the first time last year, and at the beginning I didn't feel it was possible. It felt kind of, you know, from the video it's kind of weird, and there's a lot of tricks that are I'm not used to, like toe jam and finger jam and hand jam. Like there were some kind of weird stuff.
I guess it's very un-Spanish in style, isn't it? It's it's just when I say Spain, you know, I think of that, you know, Catalonia style of climbing, pockets or, you know, jugs or
I never heard the terms, but it fits quite well. It's like totally different from everything that I tried before, and so I was kind of scared, and it was something that maybe this is why nobody tried it like seriously after Adam, because it's scary. You try it and you cannot move, and you say, why would I invest some time and energy on this thing that I even cannot move at the beginning? And
since then, how have you pieced it together? Because I know it's like focusing on different areas like the crux, and then obviously you've done various routes, move hard, you know, so you've linked various sections, but it's a big route.
Yeah, it's kind of a long route, but then the sections are quite clear. There's like the first part, which is 80 plus, and I figured out quite fast that part. It's like endurance until like up to a very good knee bar rest. And then I tried the second crux, which was supposed to be the easier, and it is, but it's still
easier.
Yeah, still a 80 plus boulder actually. But I was doing good on that, and then like this year I actually focused just on the first crux, which is the hardest, and like the process and the progress were slow, but at the end I managed to climb the whole crux from the beginning of the crux to the end of the crux, but then like putting everything together is still the next level and need more time for it.
More stamina, more strength, or
yeah, a bit of both.
Everything, more everything.
More everything. It's like a complete route. I need to be strong enough. Like maybe with the burden training I was strong enough to do the whole crux, but then I need to build some stamina, some endurance, to be like fresh enough to climb the boulder with an 8B plus before.
It's unimaginable. It's just, I find it hard to comprehend.
Yeah, it was for me, but now it feels possible.
And so I guess it seems like silence is very much going to feature in your 2024 plan.
Yeah.
Is there anything else as well that you've got in mind? Back to burden?
Yeah, actually the main thing next year will be the Olympic qualification. So we'll be in the first 6 months of the year, and silence will be just after that. And it fits quite well because silence, I can try silence from August to the mid-October, and like Olympic qualification and Olympics will end in August. So I can the plan is to train a lot for Olympics and then be in a good shape for silence too.
And is there anyone on the climbing scene at the moment that's really impressing you, really inspiring you?
Oh yeah, like there are like two kind of climbers that are inspiring me. There are like my generation, so Adam Ondra and Jakob Schubert are like impressing me a lot. And then there is this new generation which involves like Toby Roberts, Sorato from Japan, and also Will Bosey. And there are like maybe Will Bosey is between my generation and them. It's kind of like in a mid generation, and they're like impressing me a lot. Like all of them they're like still super strong.
And Will on Excalibur?
Will on Excalibur, yeah, I think it's close and he can send it, you just need to find the right condition. He was there a few weeks ago and I think we'll be there again.
When we spoke to him, he's definitely got plans to go back. And
yeah,
it sounds like such a great route. And he's so, you know what Will's like as well. Will is just so psyched. So
yeah, then it's like, I think the most people that are psyched to climb that I met is Adam Ondra and Will Bosey. They're like psyched to climb on everything, even like the shittiest thing.
Yeah, when we spoke to Will, we did give him a bit of shit about how much he loves Raven Tour and substandard limestone.
Yeah, maybe just because he grew up in the Raven Tour, then he likes everything. But I like it too, and I like to come back to the Raven Tour.
Brill. Thanks ever so much for joining us, Stefano. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was super fun.
Yeah.